Dolphins fans, welcome in to Dolphins Today. I am Will Scott. Happy Friday to you all. And on today's show, we're going to continue to break down our reaction to Josh Boyer being fired, get you some possible replacements. If you missed it, yesterday the Dolphins did part ways with their defensive coordinator, Josh Boyer. So the DC search has begun. And we're your number one destination for all the news you're going to want to know. Subscribe for all the candidates, interviews, and info. We're also going to get you probably a couple interview trackers as well, tracking all the interviews that Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins has done. So go down, hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop. And when the Dolphins do make a hire, we will certainly get you guys a video. So on today's show, we're going to be breaking down the top 10 candidates for Josh Boyer's replacement. Now, these 5 did not make the list, but I still wanted to include them on today's show. A lot of Dolphins fans are saying Lovie Smith. In fact, I've already seen photoshops of Lovie Smith in Dolphins gear on Twitter. The former head coach of the Houston Texans obviously coached with the Buccaneers and the Chicago Bears as well. Now, I don't expect him to get a DC job this cycle, maybe next cycle. The Texans still owe him a lot of money, so maybe he'll want to take a little break from coaching. But I will say that the Texans' defense did not perform well the last 2 seasons when he was the defensive play caller, but still a good coach. I would not mind hiring him. If you want to talk about an internal candidate, Sam Madison, probably that guy, the cornerbacks coach for the Dolphins, did a really good job with Kader Kohou and some of the young corners on this team this year. Marvin Lewis, the former head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, is he going to get back into the NFL? He's been with Arizona State as a assistant the last couple of seasons under Herm Edwards. Matt House, the defensive coordinator at LSU, did a really good job in his first season with the Tigers. He's coached in the league before, is the linebackers coach with the Kansas City Chiefs. So the reason that I included him on this list is because he's an up-and-coming college DC that has NFL ties. And then Patrick Seatman's boy, Mike Zimmer, produced Patrick Seatman, a Vikings fan, the former head coach of the Vikings, Mike Zimmer. Not sure if he's going to get back into coaching this year either. Now, should Josh Boyer have been fired? Y for yes, N for no. Down in the comment section, go down, let me know. Should Josh Boyer have been fired? The Dolphins making it official yesterday that they are moving on from Boyer. We begin with number 10 here on the Dolphins DC hot board, and that is Jim Leonhard, the former defensive coordinator and interim head coach of the Wisconsin Badgers. A lot of people believed he was going to get promoted to head coach, did a pretty solid job as the DC and the interim. However, they ultimately get Luke Fickell, and when you have an opportunity to hire a coach like Luke Fickell, you have to do it. And a lot of people also expected Leonhard to stay on Fickell's staff, but he's looking for other opportunities. And a lot of people believe the next opportunity for Leonhard could be in the National Football League. Coming at number 9 is Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, and he has coached in Miami before. He did a good job as the Dolphins DC back in 2016. Of course, the Dolphins making the playoffs that season. Let's put it this way. Here's how good of a DC Vance Joseph is. The Dolphins made the playoffs with Adam Gase as the head coach. So obviously it wasn't all Gase. Vance Joseph had a lot to do with that before becoming head coach of the Denver Broncos. He's currently the Cardinals defensive coordinator and is actually interviewing with the Cardinals for that job. He might be the favorite to get the Cardinals head coaching job right now. He's a phenomenal coach. I would have a lot of interest in bringing him back to Miami if he did not get the job with Arizona as the head coach. And then Sean Desai. He's been a hot commodity with some defensive coordinator openings, was a finalist for the Browns job, ultimately did not get it. They went with Jim Schwartz instead. Here is what he's done in his NFL career. Was with the Bears for several seasons, first as the quality control coach, and then as the safeties coach, then as the defensive coordinator. He was defense coordinator 2021, and then the Bears brought a new coaching staff in. He was let go because of the new coaching staff. Then he went to Seattle, where he's been phenomenal as the associate head coach and a defensive assistant over there in Seattle. I would really like Desai. I think he'd be a great hire. He also feels like a Mike McDaniel guy. Would Sean Desai be a good hire? Type G for good or type B for bad? Down in the comment section, go down, let me know. One of the up-and-coming defensive coaches in the National Football League. I think Sean Desai would be a good hire for Miami. Today's show is sponsored by my favorite cereal, Magic Spoon, the revolutionary cereal that's changing the game. Say goodbye to sugary processed cereals and say hello to delicious, nutritious options that will power you through your day. Magic Spoon is the perfect choice for anyone looking to start the new year off on the right foot with a variety of flavors to choose from, like cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. You'll never get bored. And with only 140 calories per serving, it's a gluten-free breakfast option. But the best part, Magic Spoon is packed with 13 to 14 grams of protein and 0 grams of sugar, making it the perfect choice for those following a keto or gluten-free diet. And with a 100% happiness guarantee, you have nothing to lose by giving it a try. Order your own personalized Magic Spoon variety pack today and save $5 by using code CHAT at magicspoon.com/chat or by scanning the QR code on screen. Trust us, you will not regret it. Start your day off right with Magic Spoon. magicspoon.com/chat for $5 off. I love Magic Spoon. I've shifted away from the sugary processed cereals. I've started eating Magic Spoon, and I feel so much better every morning with a bowl of Magic Spoon. I can promise you, you will enjoy it as well. The link is in the comments and the description, magicspoon.com/chat. It is a Buffalo assistant, Eric Washington. This is also a guy that's really up and coming, has done a good job with that Bills defensive line. I don't know, maybe Mike McDaniel will go in division here to find Boyer's replacement. At number 6, one of my favorite candidates, the reason he's not a little bit higher is because I don't know how realistic it is, Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator with the Denver Broncos. And the reason that I'm saying I don't know if it's realistic, this guy might be a head coach next year. He's getting a lot of head coaching interest, has interviewed for several head coaching jobs. So Ejiro Evero might be a head coach. If he's not a head coach, I'm assuming that whoever is the new Denver head coach might want to keep him on that staff. But if not, he's going to be by far the number one defensive coordinator option for teams with vacancies. And if you watch Denver this year, you know that defense was not the problem. Coming in at number 5 is Kris, the defensive backs coach with the New Orleans Saints. Really like this guy. He's been a lot of places in his career. Started in Seattle, was the Seahawks defensive coordinator for the first, I should say from 2015 to 2017. Then was the Cowboys defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator. Got some head coaching interest those years. Was the Saints DBs coach in 2021, and it was the co-defensive coordinator and secondaries coach this season with the New Orleans Saints. I would be very surprised if Mike McDaniel did not give this guy a call. Mike McDaniel is definitely going to give this guy a call. His former colleague, Johnny Holland, the linebackers coach in San Francisco. I think you're going to see some 49ers assistants linked to this job because of the Mike McDaniel connection. McDaniel's already brought some guys over from San Francisco, including wide receivers coach Wes Welker. Number 3. The interim head coach of the Carolina Panthers, quite frankly, I believe he deserves to get promoted, is the permanent head coach in Carolina. Number 3 is Steve Wilks. And when you look at the Panthers' defensive stats this season, I mean, nothing crazy, a little bit mediocre, but I'm looking at what he did is just the leader of that football team when he took over. Everyone thought the Panthers season was over. Everyone thought they were going to have the number 1 pick in the draft. They're this close to making the playoffs. Almost took down Tampa Bay in Week 17 for a playoff bid. So Steve Wilks is a great coach. I thought Arizona did him dirty a few weeks ago, letting him go after 1 year for Cliff Kingsbury. And I do believe that Carolina should heavily consider promoting him to the full-time job. But if not, much like I mentioned earlier with Ejiro Evero, if they don't retain him, he's going to get a lot of interest as a defensive coordinator. Coming in at number 2, this is another 49ers assistant, Kris Kocurek, the defensive line coach with San Francisco. And, of course, he played a big role on the best defense in the league. San Francisco, number 1 in scoring, number 1 in yards, number 1 in points per play, number 4 in yards per play, number 3 in opponent touchdowns per game, number 2 in yards per rush. Nick Bosa, 18.5 sacks. Kocurek coaching Bosa up. He's a phenomenal coach, up-and-coming defensive line coach. When you're talking about, let's say, betting favorites to get this job, Kocurek might be number 2 on my hot board. He's probably number 1 if I had to predict who is going to get this job. I do believe Mike McDaniel is going to reach out to both Holland and Kocurek, his former colleagues over there in San Francisco. But number one on my list, probably not a surprise, Vic Fangio, the former head coach of the Denver Broncos, also the former Bears defensive coordinator. He has plenty of experience as a defensive coordinator in this league. Was the defensive coordinator with the Panthers in the 90s, then with the Colts, then with the Texans, then with the Niners, then with the Bears before becoming Broncos head coach, where the Broncos had a pretty good defense in his 3 seasons at the helm. He is now a consultant with the Eagles, and I do believe the Dolphins need to go all in with Vic Fangio. I was concerned that he was going to get scooped up by someone before the Dolphins made a move on Boyer. He did interview with the Atlanta Falcons 2 days ago. The Dolphins fired Boyer yesterday, and Fangio has been linked to the Dolphins job. The Dolphins are expected to reach out to Fangio to gauge his interest in this job, but he is by far the number one defensive coordinator candidate out there right now. Every team with a vacancy feels like has interest in this guy. But I look at what he's done throughout his career. He is an unbelievable coach, unbelievable defensive mind. I believe if the Dolphins were to hire this guy, he would immediately fix the Dolphins' defense and immediately make the Dolphins a Super Bowl contender. And when you say Miami, you know the rest. Who should the Dolphins hire as defensive coordinator? Go down in the comments section. Let me know. I think producer Patrick Seaman knows that I want Vic Fangio. I think y'all picked that up as well. But go down, let me know. I'm excited about this search. I really am. There's a lot of really good candidates out there. And if they would have retained Josh Boyer because of all the injuries the Dolphins had this year, I would have understood that. But I'm looking at all these candidates. I'm like, man, I do believe the Dolphins made the right decision letting go of Boyer. Obviously, talking about third down defense, talking about cover zero. I tweeted out earlier, Josh cover zero Boyer. But I look at all these candidates as well, and I feel like that's another reason McDaniel decided to move on, because of the list of quality candidates out there that could come in and fix this Dolphins defense right away.